It's only a few days until the general election, which will be held in Sri Lanka. So if we shift our focus from the local political arena to the international political arena, I think we have one significant event that we should shift our focus to. It's none other than the US presidential election 2024. So as Sri Lankans, I think we have a lot of confusions about the electoral process, about why the election is held on Tuesday. So before we dig deep into what the US presidential election is, let's get to know more about the history of the US presidential election.
The history of US presidential elections is rich and spans over 2 centuries, evolving through significant changes in political structure, voting rights, and campaign practices. The first US presidential election, which was held between the 15th of December 1788 to the 10th of January 1789, following the ratification of the US Constitution, George Washington was elected as a President of the United States of America.
Why is the election held on a Tuesday?
For decades, presidential elections in the United States have been held on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. In 1845, a law was passed to set a single election day for the entire country. In the early days of the United States, most people lived on farms. Since farmers had to travel long distances to reach polling places, it was important to avoid scheduling elections on market days, which were typically held on Wednesdays. Tuesday was chosen because it allowed farmers to travel to the polling place on Monday, vote on Tuesday, and return home by Wednesday to prepare for the market.
This year, the United States of America will decide on its 47th president at the 60th presidential election, which will be held today. So who are the main candidates who are contesting in this year's presidential election? Let's have a look.
Republican candidate Donald Trump and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris are pushing their closing messages as they tour several swing states. Along with Trump and Harris, another 3 candidates will be contesting the 2024 US presidential election. They are Chase Oliver, candidate for the Libertarian Party, Jill Stein, a physician who ran under the Green Party in 2016, and Cornel West, an independent candidate.
What is the US Electoral College?
When Americans take part in November's presidential election, most of them will cast a vote for either Democrat Kamala Harris or Republican Donald Trump. But those votes don't directly determine who wins. Instead of a national race, it's a state-by-state race. Winning one of the 50 states means that candidate collects all the so-called electoral college votes. There are 538 electoral college votes in total. A candidate needs to gain a majority of the votes, 270 or more, to win the presidency. Their running mate becomes the vice president. It is possible for a candidate to become president by winning a number of tight races, despite having fewer votes across the country as a whole. In 2016, Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton after polling almost 3 million fewer votes.
What are the key states to watch in 2024?
About 240 million people are eligible to vote in the 2024 US election, but only a relatively small number of them are likely to decide who becomes the next president. Experts believe there are only a handful of so-called swing states that could plausibly be won by either Democrat Kamala Harris or Republican Donald Trump. 7 of these, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, are thought to hold the keys to the White House.
This year, the presidential election campaign period was pretty eventful. All the political candidates address issues like climate change, democracy, and many more. Here are a few key moments from the presidential election campaign period.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Take a look at what happened.
It is devastating. And as president, I will do everything in my power to end the war in Gaza.
Over 75 million people have already cast their vote in this year's presidential election. Who will be the new president of the United States of America? Let's wait and see.